Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new Front 7 podcast. I am your host, Money Mike, and this is the official launch of the podcast for the 2019 NFL season. And we do have some big news as we head into the final week of the preseason and are a week away from actual meaningful football. Packers, Bears, next Thursday to celebrate 100 years of the NFL. The Patriots, their Super Bowl celebration is postponed to next Sunday night as they will take on the Steelers in Week 1, but one quarterback who is not suiting up for Week 1 is Andrew Luck. And if I were to tell you that, or if I had told you that Tom Brady would outlast Peyton Manning and his successor, Andrew Luck, and still be playing football while they were retired, you would have thought I was crazy. But Tom Brady is suiting up on Sunday night, and he still wants to play until he's 45. And who knows how long Andrew Luck would have played until if the injuries had not caught up to him. Andrew Luck has cited that the injuries were just piling up, or too much for him, and it came to a point where he had to call it a career. So early, 29 years old, not even 30. Just really sad to see, as Andrew Luck was such a bright spot in the NFL. When the NFL is filled with players that are getting caught up in domestic violence, Adrian Peterson, whipping his son with a belt, he's still allowed to play somehow, even though that's child abuse. Tyreek Hill, he's allowed to play. I don't know why. Greg Hardy, Ray Rice got banned from the NFL, essentially. Well, Ray Rice was almost going to be given a second chance until TMZ leaked the video out saying that proved otherwise. Basically, Greg Hardy got a second chance with the Cowboys. That didn't really work out, so now he's a MMA fighter. Now, to me, in a world that you see these players do these things and basically get second chances, Andrew Luck stands out the most because he's never had any off-the-field issues. He's been clean off the field, a great role model, spokesperson for the NFL. The NFL needs more Andrew Luck types of players, and for any college players, model yourself after Andrew Luck. Handle yourself the way that Andrew Luck did to become a really good spokesperson for the NFL, somebody that the NFL can put out there. And like I said, among all these other players that are out there, doing all these ridiculous, evil things, and Andrew Luck was a lone bright spot, and the league needs more Andrew Lucks. And we just lost the only Andrew Luck that the league will ever have. So I hope that other players coming into the draft going forward can at least model themselves after Andrew Luck and stay out of trouble off the field. Again, as we talk about Andrew Luck's shocking retirement here, it came out last week that basically right in the middle of the preseason game, it came out that Andrew Luck was going to be announcing his retirement on Sunday. And it came out of the blue like a Randy Orton RKO. It came out of nowhere. Nobody fully expected it. We knew Andrew Luck was the Colts were keeping him out of the preseason due to an ankle injury and so we figured he'd be alright by week 1. But the announcement caught everybody off guard. The Colts now are turning to Jacoby Brissett. They are now looking to address their backup situation with Matt Castle. I've heard that they are looking at Brandon Weeden, who I did not even think was in the NFL still. Brock Osweiler, the former Broncos quarterback. So they're now looking at their backup options here behind Jacoby Brissett. And this was the news that we weren't really expecting. Everybody's been kind of waiting to see where Jadeveon Clowney is going to go. Where will he be traded to? And essentially, we were all waiting for that. We all thought that would be the big breaking news coming, at some point during the preseason. Would be it, as we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Oakland Raiders trading Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears. So we are going to eventually see another pass rusher be traded very shortly, but I want to keep talking about Andrew Luck. And when the news breaks about Jadeveon Clowney, I will cover that here on the show. So Andrew Luck, 29 years old, like right in the middle of his prime, and I hope, and I know Andrew Luck said that there's no chance of him coming back. I know he has a child on the way, he's married, and I get that. You want to go spend some time with your family, you have a kid on the way. Totally understand that if he doesn't want to play football ever again. But I'm kind of hoping this is one of those things similar to seeing in pro wrestling. I have the other podcast, the podcast of wrestling, which I will be recording more shows for that. But I'm focusing on the NFL season as we are getting ready to start the 100th season in the NFL. So I will be filming a lot more Front 7 podcasts leading up to week 1. But I will have some podcasts of wrestling episodes coming up shortly. But it reminds me of pro wrestling in a way of two superstars here, Shawn Michaels and Daniel Bryan. I hope that this is like one of those things where, both men had to retire early due to injury. And then a couple years down the line, both men, Shawn Michaels' case, 1998, he officially retired, or unofficially retired, I should say, due to a back injury. He came back in 2002. Daniel Bryan had to retire back in 2016 due to concussions. And then 2018, he was back at WrestleMania. And now he's in the midst of this heel run right now on SmackDown. And in the middle of this whodunit storyline with Roman Reigns. So hopefully maybe there can be like a part 2 to Andrew Luck's career at some point. He is still young enough, and we see Tom Brady. He's still top of his game at like 40 years old. And he wants to play until he's 45. I mean, who's to say Andrew Luck, 31, 32 years old, couldn't come back and play in the NFL? Now, maybe it won't be for the Colts. It'll be for another team. But, again, maybe if Andrew Luck finds his passion for football, he said the injuries just took the joy out of football for him, and that's a shame. That's a shame. Such a great player. He was on his way to doing so many big things. The offensive line last year gave up the fewest amount of sacks. This is the first time in Andrew Luck's career that he's had a really, really great offensive line. Gave up the fewest sacks in the league last year. And they finally had a general manager in place that put an offensive line around him. And damn it, if Ryan Grigson would have invested into the offensive line, Andrew Luck would not be retiring right now. Andrew Luck dealt with so many injuries. And a lot of that was essentially he got David Carr out of the league. We saw what happened with David Carr, where the Texans did not give him an offensive line. David Carr took so many sacks, and he got David Carr out of the league by the Colts. And now you see the Colts finally have a general manager, Chris Ballard, who recognizes that the Colts had an offensive line problem. He went in and he fixed it with a couple of draft picks. Quentin Nelson last year in the first round. And now, as I said, they gave up the fewest sacks in the league last year. So now, Jacoby Brissett now is kind of set up because I don't think this is going to be like 2017. I don't think this is doom and gloom for the Colts, as many people may think. Jacoby Brissett was behind that same offensive line that Andrew Luck had. Now Jacoby Brissett gets to be behind an offensive line that gave up the fewest amount of sacks in the league. Chris Ballard has worked on the defense. They have a team around Jacoby Brissett now for him to be a good game manager and to really get the Colts in a good place to compete in 2019. This is not 2017 where the Colts had a bad roster because of Ryan Grigson's incompetence. This is a much improved roster that I believe in a division that last Saturday took a major hit. When you look at Lamar Miller going down with a torn ACL, we lose Andrew Luck. The AFC South took a hit. Now, I still think the Texans are going to be the favorites to win the division now that the Colts no longer have Andrew Luck. But I can see the Colts here competing for a wild card, potentially, at least being an 8-8 team, nowhere close to 2017, where they ended up with the 6th overall pick in the 2018 draft. But to me, this is nowhere near the doom and gloom that I think a lot of people think it will be. I think, to me, the Colts are in the right direction. At some point, they're going to have to look for that new franchise quarterback, be it through the draft. Are they happy with Jacoby Brissett enough to maybe bypass? Like, let's say the season goes wrong and it's similar to 2017. Do they bypass a Justin Herbert? Do they bypass a potential trade up to go get Tua from Alabama? Jake Fromm out of Georgia? Or do they wait for 2021? I mean, they were sucked for luck in 2011. I guess tank for Trevor in 2020. At some point the Colts are going to have to find the next Andrew Luck. And unfortunately, the next Andrew Luck, well, he's not coming out till 2021, maybe even 2022, and that's Trevor Lawrence. So that's going to be the next great, can't-miss quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. So we have to wait a couple years for that. The Colts at some point have to address the long-term solution here for their quarterback situation. But for right now, it looks like they are comfortable with Jacoby Brissett. And as we sit here heading into week number 4 of the preseason, it is so incredible that we are sitting here at 4 games. And I want to talk a little bit about the preseason here because teams are resting their starters more. We saw the Rams, they rested their starters all last year in the preseason. And then they went and made the Super Bowl. So this year you see teams that are more than willing to bench their starters and keep the starters fresh and healthy. And you saw what happened with Lamar Miller. Teams are going to be more wary, making sure their starters get to week 1. You saw and that's what the Colts were trying to do with Andrew Luck. It makes it easier for, a starter who's dealing with injuries to sit out the preseason, since more teams are now resting starters, as we now debate whether or not 4 preseason games is too much. And I'll talk about that on another episode here. But man, we are so close to meaningful football. Week 1 is just around the corner, and it is going to be a fun week. We have Packers Bears kick things off. Sunday Night Football, we have the Patriots and the Steelers. You know, it's funny because the Steelers finally beat the Patriots last year in the regular season, and then they didn't even make the playoffs. So a lot of redemption here for the Steelers as they head into Week 1 in the Foxborough. But the Colts are going to go into Week 1 without Andrew Luck. And it still amazes me here. To see that Ryan Grigson still has a job with the NFL. To me, that's amazing. The fact that Andrew Luck is retiring right now before he's even 30 years old should be every reason possible, or every reason you need, to get rid of Ryan Grigson and for him to no longer have a job in the NFL. I know he works for the Seahawks right now, but again, Seattle. That right there is all the proof you need. You look back at this 2012 draft class, the same draft class, the Seahawks got Russell Wilson in the 3rd round, mind you. So many what ifs. This 2012 class was supposed to have been one of the greatest quarterback classes since 2004. And now you look at it in 2019, so many what ifs. RG3 is now back up in Baltimore, and RG3 had that tremendous rookie year in 2012, led the Redskins to the NFC East title, and now you wonder, with RG3 in Baltimore, is Lamar Jackson going to suffer the same fate if he tries to run too much, similar to what RG3 did? Is he going to be heading down a similar path that RG3 went? And are the Ravens going to be looking for a new quarterback if Lamar's scrambling gets too much, gets to be a little bit too much? You look at Ryan Tannehill, who was the next quarterback off the board after RG3. He is now the backup in Tennessee. Miami has now moved on to Ryan Fitzpatrick, traded for Josh Rosen, who the Cardinals dumped after 1 year. I don't know why. But again, that organization is run by drunks, so I can see why. And then you even go down a little bit further in that class. Kirk Cousins is still in the league. He's got that $90 million guaranteed from the Vikings. The Vikings went out and they got him last year, and they missed the playoffs. And again, Kirk Cousins, kind of similar to Andrew Luck, where the Vikings offensive line was kind of a weak point. The Vikings went out and they upgraded the center position in the draft with the addition of rookie Garrett Bradbury. They went in, took him in the 1st round in order to improve the offensive line for Kirk Cousins. So they're kind of similar to the Colts, where they're trying to improve the protection for their guy under center. And Kirk Cousins, 3-year deal. Well, this is year 2 of year 3. They missed the playoffs the first year. A lot of pressure for Kirk Cousins. He's still playing in the NFL. Nick Foles, he's a Super Bowl champion with the Eagles. Carson Wentz, he went down with that injury, and then we all thought it was doom and gloom. We thought it was, what happened to the Raiders and Titans the year before, where they lost Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota, and they all kind of just fell off, and now we all thought that was what have happened to the Eagles, and we thought, well, that's one contender, go bye-bye, because now they lost Wentz. But then Nick Foles played his heart out. He even caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl, something that Tom Brady cannot claim to have done in his career. Nick Foles went out there. He won the Super Bowl MVP. He was their MVP throughout the entire playoff run for the Eagles. So he's got a Super Bowl ring before Luck, RG3, Ryan Tannehill. That's incredible. Russell Wilson was the first one to get it out of the 2012 group. But now Nick Foles is there with that group as well, the 2012 draft class who has Super Bowls. It just doesn't. It seems so weird to say Andrew Luck retired at 29 years old and he's not suiting up for the Colts in Week 1 against the Chargers. I know Colts fans are upset, booed him on the field as he was leaving the field, I should say. And that to me is a disgrace. I hope we're able to. You're not going to be able to find it. There was so many boos. You're not going to be able to pinpoint all the people who booed him. But I wish we could, because I would take away their season tickets for life. Like, they would not be allowed back into that stadium. Because I think a lot of times fans tend to forget that, look, off the field, they're people just like us. Unlike us who work 9 to 5, 40-hour-a-week jobs, they get to go out and make millions throwing a football around for only 5 months out of the year. And so, we put athletes on this high pedestal, and so we tend to forget that they're human beings, and that for the Colts fans who booed him, I really hope you all don't go to another Colts game ever again. Please give up your season tickets. That was just uncalled for. It really was. You guys went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. You realize how good you had it? You booed Andrew Luck, who, yes, I know his retirement came out of the blue. Nobody saw it coming. But again, you went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck consecutively. Like, you went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. You had that one down year, 2011, but you went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck, and you found the next great quarterback, like, within one season of losing Peyton Manning. Think about this. Colts fans, you don't realize how good you actually had it. Packers fans, you know this. You went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. There was no transition period. If you count 2011, the Colts had 1 year of transition between Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. That's it. Look at Miami. Miami went out there, they drafted Ryan Tannehill in 2012. Well, he's now the backup in Tennessee. And now they're on Ryan Fitzpatrick, and who they're hoping is Fitzmagic come Week 1 against Baltimore. And he does his usual magical early season winning that he does, and they acquired Josh Rosen, who they are hoping maybe can be their guy going forward to finally replace Dan Marino. They're still trying to find that long-term quarterback to replace Dan Marino. Buffalo is hoping that finally Josh Allen is going to be the guy that finally replaces Jim Kelly as a long-term answer at quarterback. Look at Cleveland. My gosh. Look, you guys went from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck within 1 year. Cleveland's bounced from quarterback to quarterback to quarterback to quarterback. Almost 20 years of no quarterbacks. No franchise quarterbacks. And now it seems the Browns finally have one in Baker Mayfield. And it took them until 2018 for the Browns to draft Baker Mayfield and to draft potentially the right quarterback finally. And they came back in the league in 1999. That's 19 years. We're on 20 years since the Cleveland Browns came back into the NFL in 1999. This season is the 100th season in the NFL, but 20th season since the Cleveland Browns have returned in the NFL after they were relocated to Baltimore in 1995. And it took them forever, 19 years, almost 20 years to find a quarterback. It took them almost 20 years to find a franchise quarterback. Now, I'm probably going to jinx it. I'm probably going to jinx it. Now, Baker Mayfield probably won't be the guy no more. So, Cleveland, I'm sorry. Now, that there, to me, is every reason for you guys, for those Colts fans that booed him, to be grateful for your situation. So, with that being said, Week 4 of the preseason is here. Andrew Luck is no more in the NFL. I hope he finds his joy and his passion to play football once again. And like I said, maybe just like in wrestling, maybe he comes back like Daniel Bryan and Shawn Michaels and has a part 2 of his NFL career, because the NFL needs Andrew Luck more so than Andrew Luck needs the NFL. I've been your host, Money Mike. Colts fans, don't be all doom and gloom. You guys have a better roster this year. The AFC South is weak. I know the Jaguars added Nick Foles, so now there's a lot of intrigue there in Jacksonville, who's hoping to rebound after being in the AFC Championship game in 2017. So this is still maybe a winnable division. I mean, if things go wrong for Houston, you guys could win it. I mean, like I said, Jacoby Brissett now gets to be behind the offensive line that gave up the fewest amount of sacks in the league. So you guys very well could be contenders for the wild card come Week 17 of the NFL. I'll be back with more of the Front 7 podcast as we inch closer to Week 1 of the 2019 NFL season, the 100th season of the NFL. And I will be back with more of the Front 7 podcast later this week.